Today we got a laptop. I'm going to try to see if I can do something about this corner right here. This broke along with the hinge that's to the top. The screw underneath here loosened up over time, and now when you open this up it really takes a toll on this corner, and it broke it. It cracked it down here and it cracked it up on the top. Where is it? Right there. There's a crack right there. We're not gonna I'm gonna look at this and try to see if we can maybe epoxy something together, because the screw hole that's in this bottom one, the screw actually pulled right through. So this hinge is no longer attached to anything, so it's constantly just tearing it up when you open it and close it. So we're just going to tear into it and see if we can do something with it to make it last a little bit longer. It's not a real expensive one, but it works, so why not just see if we can get a little bit more life out of it. So I'm just going to take it apart and then have a look-see on the inside. Well, here's the inside. You can see this side right here is the broke side, because it's supposed to be down. It's supposed to be down tight. And it's not. This side over here is the good one. It's supposed to be the good one. Got pieces broke off that I'm sure it goes right over here on this side. This has been broke for a while, so it's been carried around. It's been rattling around in there. Some more pieces right here. So we're going to see if we can try to get this one epoxied down or something so we can use it as a hinge again. Kind of like the way that one's supposed to be. A little dirty. We'll have to blow it out a little bit, but missing a screw. Who knows where it is? 3 screws are in this side, so we know we have all those, but it's just, let's see if I can get that. But you can see this piece here is supposed to be attached to the plastic housing, and that one there and that one there is supposed to have another one, something like that down here, but they broke off. So we're going to have to find a screw for this side. I'm assuming it fell out of this. I'll look around for it, but I don't think I'm going to find it inside here. Add this in here real quick. This missing screw here that I showed you over here, it's actually the same as what this side is. It's actually a corner screw. So if we look at this right here, the bottom goes on here. This screw that's supposed to go in right here is the one that's gone, and you can see that that is all busted all up. So the screw must have came undone and probably fell out for sure. So it's definitely not going to be inside, because that's broke. And you can see this is the other side with the broken hinge. That's broke. And you can see we're missing a bunch of this stuff right here. All that's broke up. Just keeps falling apart. They should look like this. See how that one looks real nice? They should all look like that, but they're not. Kind of like this here. It's nice. That's nice. So we're gonna have some work for us. I took the fan out. This goes right here. I wanted to clean it, and I noticed this right here. This is a good reason to keep this area clear as much as possible, where the fan gets its air, or where it blows it out and sucks it in, I guess. It's got to get the air from somewhere. This is what was stuck in the fan here. A big old dust ball. Stuck right in the corner there. So this fan doesn't work good. Your computer heats up, starts slowing down, then you wonder why it has all kinds of problems. Well, it's because it's not getting cooled like it was when you first bought it. So this is what I found so far. If I can balance this without dropping it. So this is the hinge that's broke. This black piece that's on this hinge right here is actually part of the plastic of the housing, and it's supposed to go right down there. And then there's another one right here that's broke off, and then another one right here that's broke off. And you can see that this one here and this one here doesn't have this because it just totally broke to pieces and is gone. So we got to figure out some way how to get this thing mounted back down to this here. And don't know if it's going to be possible, but we'll give it a try somehow. I think I have a good idea on why this broke. To me, it seems like in the factory they tightened this hinge up too tight. There looks like a bolt or something going through here. I'm not sure. I've never had one of these apart, but I'm going to take it apart and look at it if I can. It looks like this screw or whatever is going through here. They tighten that too tight because it's too hard for this to bend back and forth. It just seems, I know it's easier when you have the whole panel you're lifting up and down, but even with the panel on this computer, it seemed like it was awful tough. So when I do it by hand just right here, it's like really super tough. So what I want to try to do is see if I can't loosen that up just a little bit, because it has this one. I can't open this one because this one's actually still together as one piece. I mean, I can open it by going like this with the panel, but that's still using the whole panel, so it doesn't seem that bad. But just with one of them as tight as it is will be good enough, and then this one here, if we can loosen it a little bit, it'll make it a little bit easier. But I still got to think about how I'm going to fix this down here. It's probably going to come down to it to where I'm definitely going to use some kind of epoxy. I got this epoxy right here. It's been laying around for a while, and I might have to use something like that in there. This says it's the PSI strength is 2,500 pounds per square inch. So that, to me, that seems like an awful lot. So maybe if we try to goop this in there somehow, but we got to watch out because the power switch is right there. This right here is the power switch back here. This gets mounted right down there, right next to all the hinge and everything. So we got to make sure that we don't get any in that area or disrupt that at all. Well, I'm getting pretty deep into tearing it apart. I got the top of this loose from the screen. I disconnected the wires, and I'm working on getting the video cable wire disconnected, but I have to remove the motherboard. I was just working on getting the keyboard out, and I figured I'd just kind of clue you in on a little bit on that, because it took me a second to figure it out. There's little, this snaps in there, and there's little tiny clips all along it, the edge, and I started with this corner over here, and if you look close enough you can see the little tab in there, and if you take a small screwdriver, you stick it in there just where you can see the tab in there, and then you push the tab back this way, and then you're able to pop that out, and then you just move your way down, and the more tabs you push back, the more this is going to come out. And then once you get this whole bottom out, I just wiggled it down like this, and then you can see they come right out of the top holes that's up there. And you can see, hopefully you can see, there's tabs. These tabs that stick up every so often, they're all the way around it, and that's what you're pulling out of those little holes right here, 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 all the way around. So then we have the ribbon cable on the other side that we need to disconnect from the board, and that'll let us pull the keyboard right off. This keyboard actually has a broken control key over here, but there's nothing we can do about it. Well, we could probably put a dab of glue in there. It pops up like that all the time. We could probably, that white piece that's down there, we could probably put a dab of super glue or something right on the corners, but the tabs that actually hold it onto the key itself broke. So as long as it springs when you get done, I guess you can do it however you want. See, it snaps into place and it stays there, but as soon as you hit it just right or something, it'll pop right back up again. So it's not very good. So I don't know if we'll do something about it. I might put a dab in there, but I don't want to ruin the function of the key. Depends on what you do. The control key can be pretty important, even though there is one over on this side too. But you can't make this so it sticks down, because otherwise you're going to have another problem. Big difference between keyboards these days and way back in the day. Now we have, there's another little thing that we need to take off, and it's the mouse. And it's in the same hole as where the keyboard was. I'll try to lift this up here. See that other little ribbon cable right there? We're going to take that off, because that is actually connected to the mouse on this side. It comes up out of here and goes up to the mouse pad. So we're going to take that off, and then the motherboard should fall right out. There was only one screw holding it in there from within here. I mean, once you take the bottom off, you took out a bunch of screws that held it in there. So that's where I'm at right now. Just wanted to let you in on that before I went too much further. Another little something in this area here that I noticed. There's a connector right here. It's got some wires going to it. We need to disconnect that before the motherboard will come apart from this plastic. So don't forget about that one. And this is a HP. I'll put that at the beginning so you'll see what it is. But you know, all laptops. This is sorry, it's not an HP. It's a Toshiba, and all laptops are made different. So it's pretty much just if you're doing it for the first time, it's all experimental. Be very careful. Take lots of pictures, because you want to make sure you put everything back the right way. And Hope your house ain't very filled with static electricity that much. Otherwise, you should wear a strap. Don't move, touch a piece of metal somewhere before you touch the circuit board or anything like that. So there's the bottom, or the keyboard, the top section. Got that out of there. Here's the motherboard. Because what I'm trying to get to, like I said, is I'm trying to get to this hinge here. It doesn't look like there's only it only looks like there's a nut on there, on the very end, right here, and it doesn't seem like I'm going to be able to turn that, but I'm going to look a little further because it looks like they smashed the end of that, so it allows it not to unscrew, because you don't want that falling off. But if I can just move that a little bit to loosen this, and it's really not even that bad once I started looking into it more, because if I feel both sides moving them, this side here is actually looser than this side, and this is the side that wasn't broke. So I think our biggest thing with this whole job is how we're going to epoxy that other side, or make that other side so it holds this hinge again. That's going to be our biggest job for this whole thing. Alright, I was able to loosen those up just a tad bit, and it come down to a 7/32 socket. Now, like I said, I don't know if all laptops, you know, different manufacturers do different things. Toshiba don't make laptops anymore, so. But 7/32 fits on there, and I was able to loosen up both sides, and now they're both, there's some stiffness to it, so it will hold the screen open. So, but they move a lot better now. This one here was kind of tough because you see how close that is right there. I think you can see that to the nut. It barely gets on there, and I would think you could probably file that edge down a little bit to get it a little bit more. But I was able to get it on there enough to loosen it. So 7/32 in this case. Who knows what it'll be on the next one. So I'm satisfied with that now. So now I'm going to get back to trying to figure out the main problem. So because this laptop is just try to make it last a little longer type thing, it doesn't matter what I do to it. It's not mine, it's my sister's. But I'm working on this corner because that's the corner that has the broken hinge. And I just wanted to show you that what I did just to kind of help support it right now, I'm not done yet, but to help reinforce it before I put epoxy everywhere, I actually melted in a 14 gauge piece of wire right there, melted it into the plastic, and I'll put epoxy over it and around it to help hold that corner so it doesn't break. Take the heat sink out of there. I did the same thing here, as I melted a smaller piece of wire in a U shape in this side, because you remember in the beginning I told you it was cracked right here all along the whole side. Well, you can see the crack. You're not going to be able to get rid of that, but that's to help reinforce that, and then I'll put some epoxy down there to cover that wire to help support that even more. So that's what I got going on right now. I'm thinking about actually building these spots up where the old screw mounts were. These things right here that the screws into. I'm thinking about building these 3 places up with the epoxy, and then actually melting the nut part of this into that epoxy like they do these here. This is a brass insert, and it's got little teeth on the side, the little teeth on the side of those, and all you do is you set them where you want to put them, and then you just use heat and you just press it down in there so it's flush. That's how those get put in there. So I'm thinking about doing the same thing, but just pressing them into the epoxy instead. If I can get the heights of those close, everything should work out pretty good. But so that's what I'm going to start working on next. Alright, so it's been a little bit. I think I'm ready to apply some epoxy in some areas. This is the back cover. Both sides had the little the stand. These little stands right here. Both of them were broke off. So this one here, I made a little cardboard cutout there and put it around there, and I'm just going to fill that whole area in with epoxy. And the other side, I still have a big chunk of the part that broke off, so I'm just going to set it on there, put some epoxy on there, set it on there, and then cover it with epoxy and see if I can use that same part. And I just got some tissue paper, paper towel or something stuck in the hole in both of these, so I don't fill the hole completely up with the stuff. On the front cover, over here where it was cracked with the power supply, remember this is the side that had the hinge totally broke. I did put 3 circles of cardboard here, and the height of what they're supposed to be, so the height matches this here. I measured it from the top of this, or actually the top of the standoff in there, you know, those little plastic standoffs, down to the bottom, and it's about 220 thousandths. So I made my cardboard 220 thousandths tall and stuck them in there, and I'll fill those completely up with the epoxy. Couldn't think of the word. And I covered up all the important parts. The power switch is right here. I want to cover that up so I didn't drip any on it or anything. And fill that up, and we'll see how it works. We'll have to drill out the holes afterwards, and then push those little things in there that I showed you. And hopefully everything lines up and works, and hopefully it holds. And I'll spread some, after these get all done, I'll take out all this cardboard and everything if I can, and then I'll spread some epoxy down on the bottom there where this is cracked, and try to support that some more. And like I said, the same on this here. I'll put some epoxy over this little wire that I melted into it to help support that corner, since that's the one that's broke. Alright, we'll do that, and I'll probably let it sit in there overnight, even though it says 2 hours. But 2 hours from now I'll be doing something else, so I'll just get back with this tomorrow after I put the epoxy in there. Alright, it's been overnight, it's the next day, and I've been working on this for a couple hours now. It's been taking a while. The epoxy cured and everything. I didn't think I'd be able to get all the cardboard off and everything, and I didn't. But you can kind of see what I had going on here. I'll try to hold it still. This one, and this one are my screw points. And you can see this first one, I already put the little brass fitting in there with the threads. I melted it down in there, drilled the hole the right size first, and then melted it down in there, and then held it down in there because the epoxy wanted to push it back out, so I just held it with the drill bit type thing just to hold it down in there until it dried. And of course some of the epoxy oozed into my switch, so I had to take a while to get my switch to work again. But I just have to drill the hole in this one, drill it in this one, and do the same thing what I did here with the brass insert. I used my Dremel tool with my little attachment that I have on there just to get these down to the height that I needed to get them to, so it matches this one over here. And this is the plate that goes on there. It's just might look a little different, but that's the plate that goes on there. So it looks the same as that, so it's the same height as the other side. But right now I'm still working on that, so that's why that's not on there. Let's see, the back. This is the back. This one here, I explained to you that this top part of this hole broke off, but I still had it. So I put epoxy down, and then I put this down, and then I dripped epoxy over the edge. So that turned out pretty good, and it seems like it's holding it. The other side over here, I had to build up. I had to build up this little stand here. For some reason I must got a bubble in it or something, because it knocked a chunk out right here. But I'm not too concerned about that, because it still is flat up on the top, and this is just so the screw can go through it. There doesn't need to be any threads or anything in that one. It threads into the other piece, so that should be okay. And you can see, hopefully you can see, I dripped epoxy down inside here to hold that piece of wire that I melted into the plastic. It's completely covered with epoxy, so that ain't gonna go anywhere. This plastic is so flimsy anyway. It's they couldn't make it any thicker, I tell you that. So that's what I got going on for now. Just wanted to show you what was going on before I got too far. So I'm going to continue putting the brass insert in these and see what happens after that. Alright, I'm going to attempt to show you how I put these brass fittings in there if you've never done it before. The wall on this one is pretty thin. I'm hoping I don't crack it and ruin it, but I guess I can always put more epoxy on there if I do. But I can't put nothing in this area right here because that's where the hinge is, and the hinge hits up against that one a little bit if I ain't careful about positioning it right. So again, what you have to do is you have to measure the bottom of this, and that's going to be blurry. Let's put this down here. You have to measure the bottom of this, and you'll get them on the packages if you buy these. That's 150 thousandths. So that's what I drilled these holes in here, is close to 150 thousandths. I think I have a drill bit that's 140. And then you can take a file or something to make it a little bit bigger. And I put a little bevel on the edge, so it helps this sit in there a little bit and before I get the heat to it and everything. So we're looking at the bottom of it right now. Flip it over, that's the top of it, and I'll show you a picture of them if I didn't already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it inside the hole, and I'm going to press on it a little bit to get it stuck in the hole without getting stuck to my fingers, just so it holds it in place until I can get my heat source over to it. In this case I'm using my soldering iron. I just put an old tip in there. Alright, we'll try that. And I got my little holder thing I'm going to hold it down with after I heat it up in my other hand, because this epoxy, like I said, will push that thing back out. So not all plastic will push it back out, but it'll push it out a little bit because of the pressure. I just got my soldering iron turned down low. I think it's like 500 degrees or something like that. I got a just an old tip on there, something that I don't really care about. So what we're going to do is I'm going to push it down until it's flush with the top of my epoxy, and then I'm going to switch and hurry up and hold this down there and blow on it and let it dry. And this is what your screws are going to screw into when you put the two halves together. And you want to try to push down straight as possible, because otherwise your screws are going to go in crooked. Don't force it to one side of the hole or the other, because then your screws won't line up. Alright, now I'm going to swap. Yeah, it looks like this side busted out a little bit, so I'm going to have to get some epoxy and put back in there. Just blowing on it to cool it down a little bit. And that's about it. Now this wall on this back side right here, it was really thin, like I said, and it broke. So I'm just going to add a little epoxy over to this side and connect that back up again, and it should be good as new. But you can see it's pretty flush with the top. So when our piece goes in here, this is our piece. When our piece sets in there, they all three should be pretty flush with each other. And then the LCD screen sits on top of this, and then you put the screws in to each one of those. And I don't know how strong this epoxy is. It says 2,500 pounds per square inch, but it doesn't feel like it's that tough, because I can poke into it and make a mark in it, and it seems pretty flexible, and it doesn't really melt as good as like the black plastic would if you were putting these things in the black plastic. I've put these in before in plastic, like this black plastic, and they go in really nice, and you can see them, they're in all over the place. They put them in there the same way that I just did, except they use probably a little machine with a little hot tip on it and pushes it down. So, but you get the gist of it. So that worked out pretty good, I guess. Alright, I'll finish up fixing this one up a little bit, and then we'll try to get that thing bolted back together maybe. Alright, to finish fixing that corner, I'm just starting to put this all back together now. This is what that corner turned out to be. Can't even really tell that I repaired anything. But that's the corner that's repaired. Just a reminder, take something apart like this, always put new heatsink compound on the main processor chip before you put the cooling fins back on there. Alright, I'm going to, I think that's it. I'm going to put this together. I haven't tried opening and closing this door yet. I'm going to wait until I get it all together. And then we'll listen for any cracks or anything like that. But I'm thinking it should be pretty strong, but we'll find out. Alright, let me finish this and I'll get back with you. Alright, we're all together. Didn't go together too bad. Didn't have any extra screws, so that's always a good thing. Looks just like new. Get that back in there. I haven't turned it on or moved I haven't moved that at all. I did want to mention the stuff that I used to put the CPU cooler back on was this here XTM50. You can probably use just about anything you want, but that's just something that was at my local Best Buy, so that's what I put in there. So let's give it a try. Oh yeah, That's nice. That's good. Moves nice and smooth. Loosening up those screws, it worked out pretty good. It's a lot looser than what it was before. So put it right here. You can see it going down, maybe. Yeah. So it will slam down from loosening those up a little bit, but I think it's better this way because it'll stay where you need to look at it. So at least it's not putting all that pressure on the corners there. And that's what broke it in the first place, is how tough it was to get this thing lifted up. All right, I think we're going to call this one a go. Hit the power button. I see some lights. It's coming on, so we're good to go. All right, we'll see you in the next one.